Hey everyone, welcome to the Growin Up Podcast. We're your hosts. My name is Amber.
And my name's Nevaeh.
And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, we like to talk about everything and anything that has to do with growing up. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, stay tuned and join us for the conversation. So if this is your first time listening, at the beginning of every episode, we like to share something that we've learned recently since the last episode. So I went last time, so it's your turn.
Okay, which we'll get into a little bit later about some updates of where I've been and whatnot, but I cannot choose one. I'm not gonna lie. I went to a very informative conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which I learned a lot of good information. But I think what I learned, and it's not that I didn't know this before, because for those of you who don't know me or have never listened to the episode before, I did my master's in exercise physiology. So I recently met another individual who also does exercise and sports science research in indigenous populations. So I think it was just this commonality that I learned amongst a lot of these individuals, and how while they might be from another indigenous group literally on the other side of the world, just those commonalities of why these things are important. So it was kind of just nice to know and learn that from their perspective, but also kind of learn the things that we can do to collaborate, and this idea of making connections and how connections really can play out in the future, which again we'll get into a little bit later. But I think that there was just so much that I did learn, but I think the overall arching goal of it all and that specific conversation kind of just taught me to make these connections and actually value these connections as well, because I took so many people's contact information down, and I've just been waiting for the right time to be hey, nice connection, and make sure that I do that. So that was probably my biggest overall learning goal for the past weekish or so. So yeah.
So would you say, just to sum it up, you learned how valuable making connections is? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, and the commonalities behind literally
indigenous people across the world.
Exactly, specific things, who honestly I thought that was going to be the last thing that I seen at this conference, but to know that there's somebody out there, and it wasn't a lot, it was one girl, maybe two, but it was just cool to see that kind of play through and see what I could do for myself as well, or how I could do that for my own communities. But yeah, overall, yes.
Gotcha. That's cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit later about why our schedule's been offset for the past month or so. But let me go about my learning session.
Yes.
So over the past week and a half-ish, I've been selected to be on an interview panel for the program that I actually started at my current job. So for those who don't know, when I started working at my current employer, I started in what they call a career launch program. So basically it's for new graduates looking to enter the workforce, and it's a rotational program. So you get to rotate positions every 6 months. But yeah, so anyways, that's the program. I have been out of the program now for about 2 years, and I was selected to be on the interview panel, and it's been great. What I'm learning is I'm getting old. I'm learning that
who would have thought?
Yeah, no, seriously. I'm growing up is what I'm learning. And I say that because all the people that we're interviewing are people who are just graduating, right? So most of those people are Gen Z. And they are falling in the ages of 22 to 24. And it is insane how much of a cultural difference there is between just me maybe being 5 to 8 years older than them. Yeah, so it's kind of mind-blowing, actually. Let me just that's how stuttered up I am, is because they use words that I would have never used in an interview, which is so mind-boggling when I hear them using Gen Z slang in interviews. Definitely you can tell about the way that relationships are hard for Gen Z is what I'm kind of learning as well. A lot of the questions that we ask that have to do with relationship management, a lot of Gen Z seems to struggle with that. It seems like a lot of their answers are they had issues, obviously a relationship, and then the way they came about like solving it, it seems like they tend to rely on a lot of other people. So like I went to my manager instead of like just having those conversations up front. I
Yeah.
would say that's kind of like one thing pattern that I've noticed. I've noticed that Gen Z also takes gap years. A lot of these kids that we're interviewing say that they took like a year to a year and a half off to do internships in between. So their undergrad lasted like anywhere from 5 to 6 years instead. Yeah, they're just very transparent. Like they say almost it's like almost a borderline of like too much that you're sharing, but like it's a new generation, a new culture. So you
Yeah.
can tell that they have all really good intentions, which is great. So it's like it's nice to know that these people are entering the workforce, but it's also like I can either feel
There's
like it's
going to
gonna be
be
a
a
culture.
shift. Yeah.
It's gonna be a shift, yes, either
Yeah.
for like the older people or for them or both of us, you know. So it's like they're either about to get dropped in the real world or we as older people at these companies have to adjust to bring these kids in. So
Yeah.
it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's
That's
been fun. And
crazy.
I'm doing this for another week and a half. So I'm excited to see like what other answers I get because they've been great. They've been great.
That's funny. Yeah. I don't know. It's so hard for me because like I feel like I'm like a little not to have myself up, but like, a lot of it obviously has to do with how you grow up and whatnot. But like even just like myself, like obviously I fall a little bit closer to like the mature Gen Z, I would like to say, not to my
Yeah.
own horn, but like I then like witness like what is it now? Gen Z, not Gen Z, Gen X. No, that's above me. What is the one like now? Alpha? Not alpha.
Yes.
Something
Yes,
like
it is
that.
alpha.
But like when I hang out with those kids and they start bringing out like what is it called, skibbity toilet, I'm like, I got educated on skibbity toilet when I was at this
Yeah.
conference from a kid.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
crazy.
so scary though, like
Yeah.
terminology. It's always going to
Yes.
change. Is it always going to be this way? This is like the biggest transition so far though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to step into it.
I know.
Oh,
I'm
well,
excited
I hope
though.
for some updates then. That would be cool.
Yeah, for sure. Just a little like backstory on it. This program had 500 applications, narrowed it down to getting 20 people an interview, and there are 8 to 10 positions. So, like, even these kids just getting to this point of having this interview is like already a pretty big accomplishment. Like, 20 out of 500 kids is like a pretty good statistic, if you ask me. So, I mean, props to them for getting this far. So,
Sorry if y'all caught that in the last couple seconds. My dog just barked. And we got a guard dog on duty. She's like, get on to the next one. Come on, guys.
I don't know if that was a bark. It was more like a cough, sneeze.
No, it was her bark.
Oh.
I canceled it out before y'all got the
Oh.
truth. Y'all would have been a little too scared. Y'all would have been
my God.
shivering in your timbers.
Insert dog.
insert scrubs. Oh, but
Oh
no,
my
that's cool.
goodness.
I'm actually really excited because obviously being part of the Gen Z, I also am like curious to see how people like kind of perceive us as, because I feel like that's always my biggest worry too. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for your updates.
Seriously. I'm interviewing with older people and I told them, I'm like, it's even a big difference for me. Like, and they're like, okay, good. And they were like mentioning how a lot of these people say dude in their interview. They're like, dude. And that's like another thing that they keep saying.
Yeah. That is kind of weird, I will say. Awesome. Well, glad to hear those updates. Again, we apologize. Actually, you know what? Before we are actually filming this video on Mother's Day. So before we actually get into today's topic for our video, just want to send a big happy Mother's Day to all the motherly figures out there.
Happy Mother's Day to my mom.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day, Mom. If you're watching this is going to be a real test right here. If she finds out that we said it in the episode, that means that she watches our podcast. So let's just insert that. We'll give you a moment, Mom.
That's funny.
That's funny. All right. Well, let's get into today's topic for this episode. So I know it's been a while, but if y'all have been true listeners, last year we did a coffee and chat. What do we call it? Coffee and chat?
Coffee
right?
chat.
Yeah. However, due to minor, what is it called? Behavioral changes of some individuals, aka Amber, who doesn't consume coffee anymore, we have decided to transition to tea. So here I am. If you haven't watched that video, go back, watch it, and then you'll kind of get an idea what the vibe is going to be for this video. But we're basically just going to do some reflection of where we're at this moment in life. I think it's a good period, maybe like a quarter of the year since that, or quarter of the year since
Yeah, it's
that
about a
time.
third of the way through the year.
Yeah. So, like, obviously a lot of things change. Time literally transitions so fastly. So, I think we have just a couple of updates and things that obviously would love to share with you all, but also kind of get some input from y'all also, or from each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've all kind of been on the go lately, so
Oh,
it's kind of
yeah.
nice to just be able to reflect, have this moment to reflect for myself personally, and then also to share maybe that process with you guys as I go about it.
Exactly. Because I think, especially with such a, obviously, like our last episode talked a lot about like transitional periods, and I think that would be something to kind of share with you all, how we also go through transitional periods, especially after the time where you don't necessarily have like an end mark for things, which I'm learning. Like, I don't have an end mark for like school, so like I feel like my transitions aren't very, like, what is it called, like predicted or like
Distinct.
expected. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I kind of realize these transitions as I'm going through them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah. I think that's why like journaling is really important because you get that time to reflect because like you said, it's so hard to like reflect when it's always on the go. Like
Yeah. Yeah, no,
like
exactly. Or like you're not forced to talk a lot of it through, with either
yeah.
like advisors or friends, or like that constant reminder of like, oh, like what's going on in your life. I mean, obviously there's work, but it's a little bit different in the sense of like, your obviously your mission's their mission and their values are your values. You know what I mean? Versus like
Yeah.
in school where
Your
you can
own.
have your own. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's funny. Sorry, a little sidetrack here, but when doing these interviews, a lot of these applicants are like saying how the company's values align with their values, and I don't really pry too much into that, but that's an interesting concept. Like finding a job
Wow.
that truly aligns with your values. Like that's new goal for me. Maybe I need that. Maybe I need to
Yeah.
reflect on that.
That's funny because they literally preach that in school. And like obviously in grad school they were like, look at the values, look at the company's values and their missions, and find a way to incorporate that into your lifestyle. But also I feel like a lot of it has to do with a lot of these people want greater things for themselves, which is very like great for our future, that people that
Hmm.
kind of want to use a lot of these opportunities as stepping stones.
Yeah.
Because at least for me, like obviously I'm gonna, you know find a job that I'm truly interested in, because I feel like we
Yeah.
have now the opportunity to do so.
Yep.
um so yeah,
That
no,
will
that's interesting.
let me know, listeners, if you would like an episode on interviewing, because not to toot my own horn or anything, but I've been on a few panels and I used to interview people and I'm decently good at interviews myself. So if you guys would like some tips on that, we could totally do an episode on just interviews alone.
Yeah, actually that would be a great idea, because again, not to do my own horn, but I am a pretty good interviewee. And not the interviewer, the interviewee, if you guys haven't caught on to that. i, I love the questions.
That's awesome. Cool. So what's been going on with you? Let's do work wise. What's new work wise?
Work wise, everything's going better. I'm getting back from a week long quote unquote vacation, I guess, if you will. So I'm just getting back into everything, but I'm definitely feeling a lot more like comfortable in my position. I've been able to like collaborate a lot better with individuals on different topics and whatnot. So I think a lot of it has to do with like a lot of changes in our department though, or like our research department. So for those of you who don't really know like how clinical research or research is kind of structured, we still like reside within the bigger like department itself. We're just like kind of like a subcategory of it all. But our team is very small compared to like a lot of other like departments of research in other areas. So a lot of transitions have been happening as far as like workflow process, who's covering what, and management and everything. So I think a lot of that has to do with the reasons with the like why I'm feeling these ways, which is great because honestly, I think that makes things a lot more like easier for me to like kind of get to. And also I feel like it's also maybe a little bit easier because I'm like in the mix of it all versus like, you know, having to catch up with something that's already going. So it's kind of like, you know, like you're contributing to the workflow. So like what obviously works for you, you kind of have a little bit more say into what works for you, you know, and like developing these things.
Yeah.
Which again is so like super helpful for myself. I am learning a lot. I'm also learning a lot of like the hardships that come with work as far as like my first issues that I'm having with different like studies. A lot of like how would you call it, like I guess I'm learning like leadership skills of larger leaders, which obviously is not an easy thing to tackle because I basically manage a bunch of doctors and their research, and I think I'm getting a better hold of it, but obviously it's still like a learning and very like can be very overwhelming. So I think those are like I'm happy that I'm at least trying to do it because I think I was a little timid in the beginning of this all. But like it definitely takes a little bit of a hardship and on myself and trying to figure out like, you know, how to be assertive but not like too assertive or be kind and like, you know, but not be too kind or so like kind of trying to build myself, which again, this is the whole reason why I took on this job in the first place. I'm also realizing that the job is a lot more than what I really wanted. And I think I kind of thought that at first, but I'm coming a little bit more to terms with that. So I think it's just the fact that like maybe obviously things happen for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. So I'm like learning a lot of new things, but it's obviously definitely not what I expected when I started. So
yeah. So would you say you're kind of like more on the admin side and you thought you were going to be like more into the research?
I thought that I wouldn't have as much responsibilities as I do. Hence like the title. Cause like, again, if you don't know the research realm, like I'm a research assistant but there's like different ways to like get like you can be a research coordinator or research specialist. So very much following the same like dynamic, I guess, as like other like larger places, I guess. But technically I was at the bottom of the the food chain. So I thought I was just gonna be a little guppy, like helping here, helping there, being here, talking to people. You know what I mean? Because that's what I was as a research assistant before.
Yeah.
But obviously that's not the case. I fall more underneath a research coordinator role, which obviously comes with a lot more responsibilities. But I'm also getting a lot of other experience, such as like IRB startups, study startups, a lot of more like, I guess you could say like regulatory admin stuff, which I didn't initially want. Like I really just wanted to get the experience of like being a part of research versus conducting research. So
well, I think those kind of skills will translate. Like you said, you've always wanted to open your own practice, so like these will definitely help in the long run.
Yeah, and I also do want to like do research, but not like clinical research, more of like general population research. So I think it's at least like if I can run a clinical research trial, then I can definitely run a regular research study. But I also have decided I will be getting my certification as a research specialist in the fall. So then that way I have that under my belt and, hopefully it'll at least add to my credentials. So I will be working towards that in the next couple of months or so. We'll see what that entails.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah. I want to hear more about your vacation. Was that really a vacation?
Not really. Obviously, I had to use a couple of PTO time because it wasn't necessarily like related to work. But it does have to do with research. So I think that was like the biggest part that correlates with what I'm doing right now. But I went to the Inakid Riel. I don't actually know how they were saying it, but it's basically a conference, an indigenous conference for researchers, and it is an international conference. So there's people from all over the world that are coming to this conference and basically talking about different research projects, program development, just a lot of like different, things that they're doing to promote like health and wellness and restoring like revitalizing like language or culture, and tying like how we tie to the earth and how we can use that to like our advantage. So it was a big conference for that. It was a week long in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I was there for since like Friday to Friday. I got to see Amber and my mom, so I think that's where the vacation portion came in, because I did get there a little bit early to kind of just settle in and sightsee, because I've actually like never stayed in Albuquerque or like explored Albuquerque. Actually, I probably still would say that I haven't because I wasn't like in Albuquerque. I was like 30 minutes out of downtown Albuquerque.
Yeah.
So I still didn't get to see it. I got to drive down a couple streets, I will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a lot of information. And again, maybe we'll get into a little bit later of how it all relates to my life. But again, if you haven't heard of it, it's called the INAKID conference. They are having one next year. So if that's something you're interested, I'm definitely open to telling you all a little bit more about the opportunity and what I did to get there, because I actually went as a fellow in one of their programs that they had. And so I was able to go on their dime and, with a little bit of like mentorship that come with it. And then also like I do attend like keynotes throughout the spring semester. So I still have like a couple more conversations I have with individuals. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in that. It'll be it's definitely an upcoming thing. Like it's still in the works of a lot of things, but it's also like more on the smaller side for an international conference, I would say. But hopefully it can get to the point where, there's people from all over the world with hundreds of thousands of people, because that would be awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me steal this show for a minute. I'll pass the baton over to you, Amber. Any updates? I know you were just talking about your interviews, but which honestly, that's really cool, because like to say that you that you were interviewing people at Jimmy John's and now you're interviewing people like for this program, and you're literally, your life is like your future's on their hands,
Yeah.
That's kind of intense.
Level. Yeah. That is kind of intense. Yeah. I've been asked to be on interview panels before, but it was like kind of when things were like the economic factors were in place. So right when we were going to start, like they were like, oh, we're not hiring anymore. So it's nice that I actually got to be on this panel, which means, again, there are 8 to 10 new jobs in the world. So there are jobs out there. If you guys are stressing, looking for jobs, you just got to be persistent and keep trying. Just a little advice out there, because I know times are stressful right now for those who are looking for jobs. Yeah.
Again, if you haven't heard my journey of finding jobs, go watch a couple episodes back.
Yeah. So my work updates, they're not as drastic, I guess, like as yours, but for those who maybe know, maybe not, I talked a little bit about this. I did get promoted in March. So I got like a promotion basically, and it's definitely really starting to tell now, like in terms of responsibility. But I don't think it's just because I got a promotion. I just think it's now that I can do things. Like my skills are really starting to be needed. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like I've hit a level of where I'm a really big contributor to the team. So it's like with that, you get more responsibilities.
Yeah.
So since then, we were kind of on like a month of where we were kind of smooth sailing. So we had a really big project last year that we kind of wrapped up, and for the past like 6 months, it was really just learning how to maintain our systems that we created, and like working on documentation and processes, and how with me, it was literally trying to learn how to work the systems, because I wasn't a part of the project last year when it was going on, when they were creating it. So it was just like, when I joined, I was just there to learn it and maintain it kind of vibes.
Yeah.
But the big thing this time around, so this year, we have a huge project coming up. Like this is company-wide project. We're moving one of our on-premise systems to the cloud. And for those who don't know, I am the cloud engineer. So that means it's coming into my land. So
and I got to do something with it.
Yeah. So this thing is coming up into the cloud, and I got to do something with it. but with that, like, and knowing more and finally like catching on and all that, I'm going to be like one of the team members who actually is doing this migration. And it's a huge thing. Like, there are multiple teams across the company that are all working with this. We have some contractors. We're working with AWS themselves,
Mm.
and it's like a bunch of people coming together and trying to move this big old system. So I think a lot of that recently is just me learning, like, how to be a collaborator. That's a word. On a technical team. So like I've been on my team and like I've been comfortable, like I'm kind of comfortable with the department in general in terms of like technology, but now I'm like entering a realm of all kind of different things. Like
Yeah.
how do contractors talk? Like how do like networking, how does their team work, and how do admin people work, like that. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot of learning how, like, what questions to ask. I think that's one thing that
Mm.
I'm struggling with is like I'm building out something right now, and it's like, how do you ask the right questions to get what you want out of people? Because I'm learning that
Yeah.
people don't always, they tell you they want something, but they don't tell you specifically what they want. So it's like,
Mm.
I can build such thing, but like I want to give you something built that's right and that's
Mhm. Like
specific
what
to
you
what you're
want.
asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So learning how to like ask them what you want in a nice way, I guess. Sometimes I also am learning, like, you can't be nice all the time. Like sometimes you got to literally like be very stern with people. And I think this is really a big test because, like I said before, I want to get into management and technology, and I'm now seeing what that's like. Um, because I do work really closely with my manager. He's kind of been my mentor in that realm of someday getting to become a manager. So I see how like it can be a struggle and how to
Yeah.
communicate with others. So that's my biggest update with work right now. Um, I haven't been going into the office much. So for those who don't know, I work a
I've
hybrid
realized
schedule.
that.
Yeah, so I work a hybrid schedule. It's supposed to be 3 days in the office and then 2 days at home. My team, we're like a little bit more flexible, but the reason why I haven't been going in is because we move locations. So we're no longer at our old building that we were at downtown. We're actually in a place called Rhino now. It's like an arts district here in Denver, and they started moving over the past month, but they're doing it in waves. So like certain departments go over on certain days. So like second floor, third floor, fourth floor are all moved in, and then our week is not next week, but the next week. So we're the sixth floor, and we'll be
Oh,
all moving in.
wow. The 6
Yeah.
week.
So it's like why go to the old building if there's no one there anymore? So we've kind of just been working mostly from home, but it's been nice because I've been working a lot. So to just be home is kind of nice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I do have some work travel coming up soon. So being a part of this project means that I get to go, because they do like these days where everybody on the project comes together in a sense. So we're going to be going up to Minneapolis, which is where our other headquarters is, and we're going to meet with a bunch of AWS people and security people, and we're just going to have like a big old week of learning, I guess.
Hmm.
So I will be able to expand my skill set into the security realm, which is an area that I don't have a lot of experience with. So um, adding that to my resume.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, especially in the
Yeah.
cloud, you know.
Yeah.
We don't need our stuff going places it's not supposed to be going. Please.
No, seriously.
That's cool
Just
though.
a little career plug. If y'all are trying to get into technology, look into security, being like a security engineer. Those are really good stuff going on there, and really good position to get yourself into.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. It's so cool to see you kind of like move up in your food chain, you know, I'm trying to stay at the
Yeah.
bottom of the food chain, obviously, because like this is not where I want to stay forever. But it's cool to see that like you moving up the food chain. And also that kind of makes me feel like a lot of like that's a lot of people involved in one project. And I'm over here
Yeah.
complaining because I got like 3, 4 teams in one project and I'm like, this is too
Mhm.
many. So I couldn't imagine having to I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that goes to show too, like what you're good at, and obviously everybody can't
Yeah.
be good at everything. And
Yeah.
I will just take the L on this one.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy because like if you realistically look at projects like this, like these are multiple millions and millions of dollars, like maybe even hundred millions
Yeah.
of dollar projects. And it's like so insane. And I think the hardest thing about projects in general is getting them started. And I think that's
Mm,
something that I'm learning is like you get a bunch of random ass people together and then you want them to accomplish something. And it's like, you got to figure out who's going to lead, who's going to take the initiative to get us to all know each other. And then you got to go through that whole forming, storming, norming, cycle of being a team. And
yeah.
like, it's so hard.
Yeah, and I think that's where I struggle because, like, I don't really have that kind of environment. But,
Yeah.
obviously there are instances where teams are needed.
Yeah.
But, like, I never thought I would be that person to facilitate that portion of it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think now I'm starting to see the needs for it. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, like, obviously nobody else is going to do it. So maybe it needs to be
Mm-hmm.
me. So
Yeah.
I might have to take a couple of plays out of your book.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that we're looking for in hiring these people for the program as well, because like every cohort, as we call them, like class of hires, like needs that one person who will take the initiative to group people. Because if not, like the culture is really off. So, like being able to find those people too that will bring that energy and plan an outing after work and stuff like that. Like that's really what
Yeah.
we're trying to look for in this class as well. So
Oh, wow.
it's a good thing to have.
That is kind of interesting to hear that is like thought of, because I would have never thought of that, like looking for an individual who has that,
Hmm.
which is really cool because,
Yeah.
obviously you like, just like you would be selecting like different skills for like a football team or a basketball
Yeah.
team. Where do we need Jess at this moment?
Yeah. Right.
But like, obviously you do need, like, that's still like a team, and you still need to
Hmm.
consider like, who's going to be there to like rally up the team when,
Yeah.
shit goes south, or like,
Yep.
who's going to be the person who's like more like, hey, maybe this is a little bit impulsive, maybe we should like
Hmm.
stick to the books. So I never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh,
But yeah, work updates.
love work.
Should we squeeze podcasts in here since it's kind of work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Podcast updates. Podcast updates. It hasn't been as consistent. I will say that.
Yeah. No, I definitely think obviously busy time. I think we're also, a lot of it has to do with like struggling on keep like finding a workflow that's consistent and is how would you say it? Like it's being shown for,
Hmm.
So I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Obviously, we still like, these are like our moments where we obviously come on here and we hope that, people will take the information and run with it. So I think that's like kind of what obviously keeps us going, and there's no plan to like stop anytime soon. Obviously we're just going to try to keep on scooting along and doing what we can with what we got. Obviously there's a lot of like, we do want to get people on the podcast, our guests, I guess, onto podcasts, to talk about a little bit of other things that might not necessarily be in our field of work or enjoyment or, knowledge. So I think like that's our biggest goal, but I guess we just kind of really haven't figured out the logistics of that all. But I do think that we have definitely become a little bit more of better talkers or better storytellers. So obviously that all makes things a lot easier for us to,
and for you guys to listen.
for you, hopefully let us know if that's not the
Yeah.
case. But I think obviously just a work in progress. Yeah.
I think also too, like in the back of our mind, we do have those plans to like improve the podcast. Like, of course, we'd love to be together one day, doing it. I'm sure, like that would change it a little bit, but also like even just the intro song, like that's always in our mind that we have things that we need to do and such. So it's our baby. We haven't forgot about it. We're just going along.
Yeah, we're just seeing
And
where
the
it
social
rolls.
media part. We need that social media part. So if anybody really wants to do like, some free internship vibes posting for us, get that experience, it would really help in your future if, we're here
Yeah.
for it. You help us, we help you kind of vibes.
Yeah. Well, I also didn't realize that like social media is becoming like a thing in colleges now. Like you can
Hmm.
take like social media creator type classes and obviously a lot of companies are hiring, like I know a couple of my friends, like they've been social media people for like bars and stuff like that, which like
Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
your clientele. So that is also a line of work nowadays. So if you
Hmm.
are looking for experience, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
I would
Maybe we'll
greatly
make a
appreciate it.
like a separate post for this. Post it up on the
Oh
socials.
yeah, that's a good idea. That is a good idea.
Um yeah, so that's podcast updates. Nothing much. Just keeping you guys on the in.
Right, right. On what we got, what we got.
Yeah.
I think, obviously too, we're still trying to navigate like how much content of like serious topics or like personal topics, or trying to get a good gauge of like what type of information or things you want to hear, I guess,
Hmm.
or what you all want to hear. So I think that's something that we're also trying to navigate and learn how to like observe and tally our analyze, I guess,
Hmm.
and like how much of like each certain thing we should be putting out within each timeline, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
um which is a lot harder than you would think, because like obviously you put what you put out there, but you want to be like put space it enough to where people are actually like, okay, like not like, oh, they just said, like they just talked about that last week,
Yeah.
which you
Yeah.
never think about.
True. So thanks, Nav. On to the next section. Let's hear about some life updates. Like what's going on. I know we kind of talked about some of our like New Year's goals at the beginning of the year. Like, how are you holding up with those?
Yeah. I think I am still in the, I don't know. I thought about that a lot because, my thing was like I was trying to change my like mindset from like, being more of like a wellness kind of track. And obviously I've been reflecting on it, and I think I'm also seeing it become a little bit more in my thinking process. So like, even if it's just like going for a longer walk that day, like figuring out like, okay, well this will be good for me, versus like, use having that mindset of like, oh, I'm going to be like, I don't know. It's just kind of like switching that mindset, which I think I've been definitely trying to incorporate, which I think has a lot to do with the experiences that I've had recently. I think it's
Mhm.
just more of like the action part of it. But again, I also told myself I wasn't going to be like super like hard on myself and draw myself away from it. So I don't know. I think obviously I'm not doing as good as I think I wanted to do in the
Yeah.
beginning. But I'm also trying to take everything with a grain of salt and not like force it on myself. But like I can even just tell like in the little like tidbits of like, okay, well maybe we should have like this for dinner because it's a healthier option, and like
Hmm.
have those, at least those conversations in my head, I think is a good track for me at least.
Hmm.
But again, a lot of it has to do with the experiences that I've recently had, especially like the conference that I went to most recently. I think that really locked it in. But obviously always trying to do better, be better. I feel like I have also been like getting better at figuring out the meals that I'm going to cook from home.
Yeah.
Like that used to be the hard part for me, obviously, which allows you to like think, oh, like, well, maybe this, like just going out and getting something would be a lot easier. But just being a little bit more open to like what you're going to have for dinner. I think that's also been like where I'm at, which makes me proud because I'm like, I have options now, that I can just go to. Uh,
Yeah.
but obviously still working on the being outside. I think travel took up a lot of my time recently. I was in Utah in March, and then I was in Albuquerque this past week. So I think traveling took up a lot of the times and trying to feeling like I have to like get myself back into a lot of things, into a routine, and then it being uprooted and then
Yeah.
having to start again, you know?
Yeah. No, I feel that. Yeah,
So
that's a hard thing to navigate is like you have a routine and then like something so small as like a weekend travel ruins the routine and then you're like, okay, do I keep going with the routine while I'm away or like can I stop? Like how do I start back up? That's always a
yeah.
struggle.
Yeah, because I even like honestly though, what keeps it at least like somewhat structured is my dogs. You know, like knowing obviously that your dogs have to go out and have a walk and get like their energy out. I think that's really, and like maybe that's why kids are like, you know, like then you have like your kids' schedules to go by versus your own, which like
Mhm.
can be good and bad. Um,
Yeah.
but like, well, how do you get that for yourself? You know, with it having to
Mhm.
be a whole external body, like, well, how do
Mhm.
you do that for yourself? I think is the questions that I have pondered. But otherwise, I think also trying to navigate the hard feelings, because I think I also said this in my New Year's resolutions was being more like in touch with like my culture because I've been away for so long. And obviously again, those trips helped a lot. Like I was able to go back to the Four Corners like area. But I think also just feeling trying to figure out the next steps of everything becomes overwhelming, and also like figuring out like what I need um now, like what's a priority to me now. I think it's just a lot of like, you know, overwhelming feelings of trying to figure out like how do I make my next steps from here, which again, transitional period, this is what it's about. But and I also don't have anything else on my mind besides that. Like it's not like I have like homework that I need to get done, or you know, like a project due by Friday. Like now I have a lot more room to like think of these kind of things.
Mhm.
um Obviously like the end goal is to go to medical school, so like that's always there, but I feel like just trying to figure out like what's best for myself and how can I achieve that um is like obviously in my mind. But there's just a lot of like I think questions going on in myself, and like how can I do this and implement this in my lifestyle, or like obviously the like thoughts of like if I just get up and go do something, then life would be 10 times better. But how to get over that hump, I don't know. It obviously I'm still a lot more questions running through my head. I think is ultimately the biggest update is, you know, how can I now put these to action versus
Yeah.
like it just being thoughts. How do I, you know, act on these things?
I love thinking about things like that.
It's so scary though.
It's so
Like it's
fun.
so fun. No, it is so fun. But like also it makes you think like how do you keep track of these thoughts, you know what I mean? Like um
Yeah, that's why
like
I use my notes. And it's funny because a couple weeks ago, let me just put someone on their bus here. I was telling Nevaeh how I was writing out my meal schedule and my ingredient list, and she made fun of me. And now she's over here planning her weekly meals. Hmm. She's like, "You're so old. This is how you can tell. This is what you're doing on a Saturday night or something like that."
I forgot I did that. I apologize. Yeah, no, I did start the meal thing. I actually started a life planner in Notion
Oh my
recently.
god.
So yeah, like figuring out like those little to-dos and
Yeah.
reflections. Obviously journaling helps a lot. Like I still do journal, but also I think too I've gotten to the point where like in journaling, like there's so much I want to talk about. Oh my gosh. There's so much that I
Great
want to
timing.
talk. No, there's so much I want to talk about, but not enough like muscle action to do so. You know what I mean? Like I could write a whole book about the emotions that I'm feeling. Um
But
I
how
think
to deal
also
with
another
them.
thing which I don't think I've talked this through with you, and so this is exclusive time. I just went to a consultation for counseling again. I did counseling back in like middle school and high school. So I recently had a consultation for that. So that might be in the near future. Again, just because I feel like I need some help just navigating through the questions that I do have, um, with just somebody to listen to them, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. And obviously taking care of your mental health and everything is good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just manifesting and throwing a slight plug out there, BetterHelp, if you want to sponsor us, we're here for it.
Right?
Manifesting BetterHelp, be our first sponsor of the year.
Right. And actually
general.
the consultation that I went to was actually with a Native American woman, and that's like what her whole counseling framework is like Indigenous wellness. So I think this will also be kind of interesting to see like how, because like this is a new thing, like these things weren't created like last year, or they weren't as popular last year, these like tailored things for Indigenous people. So I'm excited to kind of see how this works in comparison to the times I did it in like high school where it was like a white provider. And how that might change things. So I'm kind of interested to see how that might be either beneficial to me or not,
Yeah. I had a friend who he tried going to counseling with also an Indigenous counselor. I don't know what the outcome of that was, but it's nice to see that that's going on.
Yeah, I was surprised as well. Yeah,
cool.
Go ahead, Amber. I know you had a lot of like big updates in the beginning of the year, but I'm happy to see you're gliding from what on the outside, external.
Yeah, life update. I'm still alive without a gallbladder, for those who were wondering. Life is great. No, yeah, life updates. I mean, it's finally sunny outside, and it's definitely looking more positive in a sense of like just life in general. I think I'm definitely becoming a summer person, which is something I never thought I'd ever say, but
it's probably all your time in the valley.
Yeah, I was really PTSD from living in Arizona, Phoenix specifically. So I like hated the summer, but like now I'm like, I'm out in that sun. Like I was asking our brother, if he wanted to go on a walk with me yesterday. He's like, can we drive? Because it was pretty hot, but I'm like, I want to go walk in the sun.
Yeah. It makes a difference when you have like a nice summer,
Yeah.
Like green leaves, grass.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of like kind of what I was envisioning my year be like, I guess it was a little kind of obscure at the moment because I was going through like the health issues. But I do know one thing that I really said was I wanted to like become more health conscious in terms of like nutrients and stuff like that. I will admit, like, I haven't been that deep into learning, but I will say that after getting my gallbladder taken out and then finding out like other things about my health, I have taken the personal time to learn about how to improve, myself in terms of like vitamins and like supplements and how I can get it in
like
food.
wellness
So I mean,
and
like
preventative health.
Yeah. So I will say I've learned not like how I was expecting, but I did learn a lot about what I need. So I will say I'll take that as win. I will say also I have, if you guys haven't heard of the book Good Energy, I hear a lot of good things about it. I bought the book. I just am reading 2 other books at the moment, but that's next in the queue. So I'm hoping that can also add to my New Year's goal. I will say, you're laughing, but reading 2 books, I did my own research on this, is actually a good way to read books, because if they're like 2 completely different like rounds of books, and if you get tired of one, you can go to the other, and then you can go back. So some people read different books in the morning and then different books at night. So
that's insane.
Keep that in mind. Yeah, it's been helpful because I got to a point in that memoir book that I was talking about with Stephen King where like it's interesting, but I couldn't just continuously read it like how I enjoy reading. So I picked up another book, and it's been nice to like kind of alternate back and forth. But yeah, so books. I will say, for those who don't know, our younger brother moved in with me and my girlfriend. He used to live in Minnesota, and he was up there on his own. He is a recent high school graduate. It's been a year now, but I'll still say he's pretty recent. So I invited him to come move down, and he's moved down. He's been here for about 2 months now, so it's been a transition, but it's also been kind of nice to have him around, and again, like learning about the younger generation out there. It's an interesting thing, but that's been fun because it's allowed me to be like more consistent with my lifestyle. And I think that like in terms of like cooking and just like running errands and things like that, it kind of gives me a sense of like family structure, I guess, that I haven't had in a while.
Mm.
So like meal planning, that's been one thing because now there's like more of us. There hasn't been I've only been feeding 2 people for a long time. So just moving that up to 1 makes a big difference.
Oh boy, yeah,
Yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure. I will say some of my motherly instincts have came in, but I will also say that I'm really proud of him, which is cool because like I don't know if you guys don't know, but I didn't really grow up with him, so just to kind of see like his morals and how he is as a person and his personality and stuff, that's been really awesome to kind of witness and learn about him. Um, yeah, again, getting outside, that's been nice. I'm trying to really. I did mention that I wanted to train my pup a couple episodes back. I'm still trying. She's gotten a lot better, but just getting her outside more and getting her off the leash, which was one of my biggest fears with her because she is a runner. She's a track star.
She's a track star.
Yeah, she legit.
She literally is. She would definitely be in the Olympics if she was human.
Yeah, right. No, seriously.
At least you got your athlete.
um yeah, that's going. She's getting really good. And I've been pretty consistent with that. So taking her on walks, letting her off the leash, and praying that she comes back.
Keeping her tag on her.
Right.
Got her address on there.
A big thing coming up. I have some friends coming in 2 weeks. So again, I mentioned it in another episode, but these are my closest friends, and we usually do make this effort to visit each other every year, at least once. So they are coming here in a couple of weeks, and this is flexing my planning muscle of parties, which I'm not usually that great at. I was Navi's maid of honor, and I took part in like I made the spreadsheet for her to make the planning. So that's how good I am.
I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, no, there was she put like her arrival and her departure. That's literally all she put on it. And then now I have to spend every day listening to her plan this whole vacation. That I'm like, that doesn't even have like I gave you one job and then here you're doing the job months later. Yep. So a little salt if you can't tell.
So that's what's been taking up some of my free time right now, just planning this party. We did move recently. That's another life update. We moved into this place 2 months ago. Y'all may have seen some of my TikToks. I've been slacking, but it's been on my mind. We just kind of got our lives rolling after we kind of moved in. But I think there's still some things that I want to do, like my workspace. Like I hope to at some point have something behind me besides a white wall.
I feel like you've always had a white wall behind
you. True. I will say like living in a bigger house has pushed my minimalist like morals. Like I'm like, okay, I'm justifying things that I'm getting, which is hard for me because like I've always been very minimalist recently. So it's like, okay, I want a new dresser, but do I need it? Kind of, but not really. Like, so I've been definitely testing my just my beliefs, I guess you can say.
Yeah, she's been inquiring with her maximalist over here.
Yes, but I think I'll eventually hit a point where I am comfortable. Hopefully,
walls, been, towers of books later. I think I'm comfortable.
No, I did. I started going back to my Kindle. I charged that thing back up, and I bought a book on my Kindle. So, yeah, hearing my life updates. See, I love to be all over the place. Like what you fear, like I love. My brain is really good at like being all over the place.
Yeah, it's a little too quiet over there for you.
Yeah, like if I figure out something I want to do, like I'm pretty good at acting upon it. I will say that I won't not fail. I could use some improvement on completing, but I do trial things right away. Like if I think of something, my thought is like, okay, I'm gonna go try it out, and then if it like works, it works. If it doesn't, like on to next.
Yeah. I fear that if we were one person, we would be unstoppable.
We'd be wait, I thought you were gonna say like we'd be SpongeBob when in his brain with all the filing cabinets on fire. You know, I thought it was gonna be a bad thing.
No, like some sort of like creature, like monster, or something.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking like a superhero or something.
Oh, yeah, true.
That's what I'm saying. I was just trying to compare like differences, but I guess that fell through.
Yeah.
I guess that was accomplished. But I was just saying that if we possessed each other's greatest strengths, that we would be pretty dang good.
True.
But it's unfortunate because we're separate. So next.
Anyways, if y'all kept up with my life updates, let me know because that was fast and all over the place. But that is literally me in a nutshell. So
no, that's exciting though, because I feel like you do like you have a good balance right now of like you get to kind of choose how much you take on, which is I feel like, you know, something that you never necessarily like have had, you know, obviously as somebody observing, like, you know, you've always been sort of like in the like having to take up all this time and like, you know, double stack everything. So I'm happy at least to see you have some sort of a break where, you know, you're
doing what I want.
You're doing what you want and your top like needs aren't things that like you have to do instantly versus like, you know,
true.
You have a little bit of time to like engage with it and choose when you want to act upon those things versus like feeling like you actually need to do it at that moment. So I'm at least happy to see that you have that, because I think that you deserve a little bit of a break, whether you like it or not. But like, I think you just needed some time to just like chill, hang out, and like absorb what you're going through.
Yeah. No, you know, I think a lot of that was like, I know a gallbladder removal doesn't seem that bad, but it was pretty insane for like a while there. So I think like being so low that I've never experienced before, like in terms of health things, really motivated me once I started like getting back to life. That like,
it's a lot of
like
lifestyle changes
too.
too.
And just like the thoughts that like things are and can be worse. So it's like it's only you should take advantage of your time, you know, do what you want to now. It's like having that moment where you almost die and then you're like, you know what, I gotta live. So thank you, gallbladder, wherever you are, for showing me the other side and pushing me a little.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. But yeah, it was also too like, again, I seen Amber 2 weeks ago now. In Albuquerque. So I feel like that was also a good little refresh for us, sure. Like together, but also like family wise, because I feel like we obviously don't get those as often as, you know, we would if were living next to each other or near each other or within relative distance. So that was nice, obviously, to kind of just hang out and explore, which again, I feel like we haven't done that in a long time. I feel like obviously all of our gatherings are always something like big. Going on. Yeah. So it was nice to kind of just like explore, do different things. Obviously time was not as much as obviously we would hope for, but I think just making an initiative to find those moments as well in the near future. So
yeah, I agreed. So what's next? Like, what are you looking forward to? We're moving to summer, kind of like I said. Like, what are your thoughts on the next couple months?
I think I just want to find the action portion of it all. Obviously work was consuming me up for a little bit. I think mentally, I think I went through a little bit of a mental struggle there, taking on my clearly overwhelming job. So I think obviously now that I'm a lot more comfortable and also trying to find those lines and understanding that, I'm hoping that I can dedicate a lot more like time to myself and act upon the questions that I'm doing, because I feel like obviously they're not going to be answered unless I do something about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously finding some action amongst those things. Obviously all the fun summer events are coming out now. So like we went to a Greek festival last weekend. So finding those moments, I think, is the plan for sure. My friend is graduating from nursing school in the next couple months, so planning to go out to Minneapolis and go watch that. And I think obviously MCAT, planning that out and at least figuring out my next like steps, which for me is very overwhelming. Because our lease ends in July-ish for where we currently live. So obviously trying to figure out like if we should move, where we should move, if that, how like that timing, because like now that it's approaching, I actually have to think about how long of a lease I want to do and like make sure it matches up with my schedule for hopefully entering medical school. Or even that, like if I'm applying next year, which is like, you know, the deadline for myself to apply next year, and then like having a whole year after that figuring out like what to do with that time. Like obviously like I gave myself at least in my head like 2 years maximum for my current job, and trying to figure out like, okay, once that's met, do I stay in it or do I like fill that time up with something else? So I think just a lot of like planning for the next couple of years, so which obviously these decisions kind of have to be made sooner rather than later, just because of like the adulting stuff, like housing, also like my husband's job, our dogs, and you know, obviously things that you can't just like uproot your life and dip out on.
Yeah.
Which, you know, would be nice if you could, but I'm just kind of really excited to obviously see where this next couple of years, because it is like a gap year for me, so it's really like what I make of it. But I think just overall just acting upon my things, I think obviously the warmer weather makes you feel a lot better. So
Yeah.
I am a huge fan for this time.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can use that to my advantage, or I want to at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Sounds like a lot of adulting. Maybe throwing some, sprinkling in some fun activities in there.
Yeah, I hope so. Obviously, too, there's like big updates for like within my little family too, like with my husband and everything. So I think trying to figure out like what that means for our lifestyle as well, because like
Yeah.
I think for a minute, obviously, we were trying to like navigate post grad, new job, wedding, and everything. So I think now that we're at least almost unfree of all like that,
Yeah.
that it'll be a little bit more of a fun time. But
Yeah.
couple trips planned here and there. Hopefully in the winter time we can go do a family vacay,
Yeah.
or something.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yep. I feel like mine's a super like Debbie Downer. Can you like brighten it up, Amber, and like add your, you know, good plans? Because I know Amber's such a good planner, and I hate her for that. So Amber's like, I literally lived through Amber's life. So go ahead, Amber. I'm excited. What are we doing next?
No, well, yours sounded exciting too. Looking for a new home. That part's fine.
I'd rather be in the home like you.
No. What am I looking forward to? I think I'm looking forward to positivity. Like you said, I think I learned this was a year where I learned that I do get seasonal depression. Like the winter
Your first couple
season.
winters back.
Yeah, it's like, so now I'm looking at it of like, okay, I need to soak out as much positivity as I can to kind of prepare myself for the next winter. That's kind of literally what I've been thinking about lately. Goal is to just get outside. I think that's my biggest thing, is like to spend more time out in the sun, literally. And what life updates, just kind of get by on work. I'm hoping that I can really take away a lot from what I kind of discuss, this project and things like that. I want to go out back home to the reservation. That's one of my big goals that I want to do in the next couple months here. So I got to start kind of planning for that. That's a thing. Um, and then random thing, but I want to start investing in my truck. So for those who don't know, I have a Tacoma, and it was like, I don't, when you buy new trucks, they have like a 2-year warranty, right? Or like 25,000 miles, whichever comes first.
Yeah.
I finally hit that, the 2-year mark /
Oh,
25,000
really? Has
miles.
it been that long?
Yeah. So now like I can start doing whatever I want. Like it's like, you know, I don't have to, I can make mods basically to my truck
Everyone's gonna
because
come out with a monster truck.
yeah, but like even though I want to like invest like money into it like for that, and I also need to make sure that I'm remembering like necessities like tire. We're gonna need new tires soon, and truck tires are not cheap.
Yeah.
Thinking about more of those maintenance stuff, but I do want to kind of at least plan for it. Make a plan. Maybe like start a little savings bucket for the truck specifically. So when those arise.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I need to do something to my patio because it's looking really like nice out there, but it's just
A
like
TikTok
a square.
series on your patio, Amber, come on.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm learning that patio furniture is so expensive.
It is, yeah.
So let me just start with the rug.
That's what we
Me
did,
out
and
there.
then we bought the Target display. You can buy the Target displays. Mm-hmm.
That's where I should.
Just FYI.
Yeah. So if anybody has any ideas for like a patio, let me know because I have a square out there with sun and it's looking a little down. But yeah, so that's kind of my plan. It's nothing big, just kind of going with the flow, strolling through it, soaking in positivity, getting ready for my seasonal depression. And my 30th.
I'm all excited for our family vacay, and you're all here. I'm so scared for my seasonal depression.
And my 30th birthday is coming up, so
oh my god,
I think that'll be it. I think like next coffee chat we do, I'll definitely have like it hasn't sunk in yet, so I'll let you know how 30 feels when I'm 30.
That's good. Here I'm all talking about your 30s all the time.
I know.
That's funny. Aw. Oh no, that's exciting. I'm really excited. I'm like, I love your like new house era. That's my favorite part of this all.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't know if I'm buying the whole truck era.
Why not?
Huh?
The truck?
Because
I think part of investing in a truck helps me get out into Colorado because that's one thing I should put on my list. That's not a priority right now. But I've been wanting to get into the mountains. I want to go camping and stuff like that. But that stuff is expensive too. So that's like an investment in itself. So maybe that'll be thrown in that bucket. But
I guess I didn't even think about that. Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
I guess that's okay.
Now I vibe with that era.
Yeah, but so thanks everyone for listening to our life updates. Want to know your updates. Let me know about that promotion you got. Let me know if you're investing in your truck or your patio.
Or let me know if you're moving too soon. Maybe ? Also, grad updates. If you're a graduate, I want to hear those updates too. I love those things.
Yeah.
What's your next
Let me
plans?
know about yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or if you're interviewing for a job, let me know.
Yeah.
Might have some input on that. Also, we have in the past like offered to our friends and close family like mock interviews and like I help with resumes. So if you guys need help in that area, like reach out. Like we're always down to like help out and get to know you. And if you guys really want a mock interview, like we can do that for you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome.
Keep that in mind now because if we ever get more than 1,000 followers, we might not be able to do that anymore.
This is an exclusive service right now.
Yeah.
So far, our completion rate is definitely close to 100. So
true. All right. Well, we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you guys had a tea or a matcha. Because I didn't see Nevaeh drink any of her tea this whole time.
I literally am halfway, like, I'm gone.
Oh, damn. Okay.
No.
I knew it wasn't tea.
I'm crying. Anyways, I did drink my tea. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to stay up to date with our episodes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on your post bell notification thing down in the bottom to know when we post our videos. We know we've been a little bit of wishy-washy on our times for scheduling, but that's why you should probably subscribe or use the notification bell so that way you know when there's a new episode. We are streaming on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so you can look for us there if you're on the go and prefer just listening to the audio. There's that for you. Subscribe to our Instagram so you can stay up to date with all of our postings and Amber's recommendations. If you don't catch those on Instagram, or if you're not subscribed, some of the books that Amber does talk about, we do post those on our Instagram. So you all can kind of look at that and see Amber's ratings for those books. So if that's something you're interested, that's where you will find that information.
Yep. We will see you guys, and we'll catch you guys next week.